Okay, that is not at all what I was expecting this book to be about. I literally thought she was like a contractor or something, and maybe it was like she fell in love with a construction worker. I have no idea, but I did not think that's what this book was about. Hi guys, welcome back. This is part 3 of working through my Libby list. If you watched the other 2 parts and are back for more, thank you so much for sticking with me and listening to me yap about all these books that I don't know about. If you haven't seen the other parts, basically I have 25 books on hold on my Libby app, and we are just slowly working through them because I cannot remember why I put most of those on hold. So this is the last installment of this series. We are going to work through 9 books today, and then my Libby list will be up to date, and hopefully I'll actually know what every single book on my Libby list is actually about. I was editing some of the earlier parts in some of my other videos, and I literally realized I wear this sweatshirt in like every single video. I swear I have more clothes, but this is like my at-home comfy sweatshirt, so I think I just throw it on and don't realize that I've literally worn it in every single film or video that I've done. So I had to wear it again for part 3 because it's just tradition at this point. Okay, so we're just gonna jump right back in. Again, we're gonna go through 9 books today. I think I had said earlier in this series that I thought the further down on this list I got, so like we started with books that were gonna be available to me the soonest and work our way down to books that I'm still gonna have to wait a couple months to get. And I remember saying, I was like, oh, I bet once I get to those books at the very end, it's going to be like really easy to get them off my list because I'm not going to want to wait for them for that long. And I was just looking through when I was prepping for this video, the titles that are at the very end of my list. Unfortunately, they all look really good. And I really have a feeling that I'm not going to be getting rid of too many, but it'll still be good to know what these books are about when they do become available. So let's start with the next book on my Libby list, which is The Big Fix by Holly James. This book has 3.70 stars on Fable. I think this is just like a romance thriller fiction. I think I saw this book on the Fable Explore page and the cover just looked really cool. But yeah, I really don't know what it's about. So I just put it on hold because, again, apparently I only judge things by their cover. So here is the description. When bookish Penny Collins reluctantly lets her sister drag her to an estate sale at a neighbor's house, she's hoping for a little diversion rummaging through dusty antiques. Instead, she ends up in a public squabble over candlesticks with the deceased owner's nephew, Anthony, right before a dead body tumbles out of a closet. Okay. Penny's plan for the summer involved finalizing tenure at the university where she's a computer science professor. Instead, she's suddenly on the run with a man she barely knows, scaling walls, evading bullets, and accidentally stabbing henchmen. It seems the wrong people have got it in their heads that she's Anthony's girlfriend and, by association, in possession of something they desperately need and will do anything to get. As for Anthony, he has a top-secret occupation as a fixer, but a recent fix went dangerously awry, and now he and Penny are dodging both a ruthless billionaire and the FBI, and it'll take all of Penny's plentiful savvy and common sense, in addition to Anthony's particular set of skills, to survive long enough for her to see the next semester. Okay, that is not at all what I was expecting this book to be about. I literally thought she was like a contractor or something, and maybe it was like she fell in love with a construction worker. I have no idea, but I did not think that's what this book was about. It still sounds really interesting. I am going to keep this one on my list. I think it's available to me in the next couple weeks, and so I do think this will be like a really fun summer read. So I'm going to keep this one on my list. That was not at all what I was expecting this one to be, especially given the cover. Oh man, okay. All right, the next book on my list is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This book has 4.28 stars on Fable. Okay, so this is a YA fantasy, and I just constantly hear about this book. Again, I have no idea what it's about, but I swear on TikTok every time they're like looking for a fantasy series, this is like always one of the top ones on people's list. And it's obviously pretty highly rated, so I am interested. Here is the description. I already like don't know how to say the main character's name, and I'm sorry. Leia? We're gonna go Leia. Leia is a slave, Elias is a soldier, neither is free. Under the martial empire, defiance is met with death. Those who do not vow their blood and bodies to the emperor risk the execution of their loved ones and the destruction of all they hold dear. It is in this brutal world, inspired by ancient Rome, that Leia lives with her grandparents and older brother. The family ekes out an existence in the empire's impoverished back streets. They do not challenge the empire. They've seen what happens to those who do. But when Leia's brother is arrested for treason, Leia is forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them within the Empire's greatest military academy. There, Leia meets Elias, the school's finest soldier, and secretly, its most unwilling. Elias only wants to be free of the tyranny he's being trained to enforce. He and Leia will soon realize that their destinies are intertwined, and that their choices will change the fate of the Empire itself. It sounds interesting, and I think I will keep this one on my list because, again, it's so highly rated. It's constantly on all these like lists of one of the best fantasy books of all time. I guess I'm just like surprised that this is fantasy because this just doesn't, like, it's obviously inspired by ancient Rome, but I would think it's more like fiction. I'm curious what the fantastical elements are of this series, I guess. But it sounds interesting. We will keep this one on my holds list, but I might not get to it maybe until this fall. Fall is always my favorite time of year to kind of read fantasy books, so we'll see. But I do like that this one is in a series because I am constantly struggling to find a book to read, and when I get in a good series, it's just nice to, like, you know, you don't have to think too hard about what the next book you're going to read is. It's the one in the series. So we are going to keep that one on my list. The next book on my list, I did talk a little bit about in part 2, is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. As I said in part 2, I have been hardcore craving a Cassandra Clare book, and so all my hopes are basically on the line with this book. Swordcatcher has 3.78 stars on Fable, and I believe this is an adult fantasy book. All the books I've read by Cassandra Clare previously have been YA, so I think this is the first adult fantasy she's ever written. I could be wrong. Here is the description. In the vibrant city-state of Castlane, the richest nobles and the most debauched of criminals have one thing in common: the constant search for wealth, power, and the next hedonistic thrill. Kel is an orphan, stolen from the life he knew to become the Swordcatcher, the body double of a royal heir, Prince Connor Orlean. He and Connor are his closest brothers, but his destiny is to die for Connor. No other future is possible. Lynn Castor is a physician from a small community whose members still possess magical abilities, but despite her skills, she cannot heal her best friend without access to forbidden knowledge. After a failed assassination attempt brings Lynn and Kel together, they are drawn into the web of the mysterious Ragpicker King, the ruler of Castlane's criminal underworld. But as long-kept secrets begin to unravel and forbidden attractions arise, they must ask themselves, is knowledge worth the price of betrayal? And will their discoveries plunge their nation into war and the world into chaos? I think I'm also similar to An Ember in the Ashes. I'm having a little bit of a tough time kind of imagining like what this world is and like what the stakes are. But I do know this is the first book. I don't know if it's a duology or a series, but there's 2 books in this series out already. I don't know. I just really want to read a Cassandra Clare book. I'm going to be honest. Like I've said previously, if I was in Barnes & Noble and I picked this off the shelf and read the description, I don't know that I would buy it just because it kind of sounds like, it just sounds a little generic, honestly. But how much information can you really pack into a description? So I am going to keep this on my list purely because I have been just craving a Cassandra Clare book. So we'll see how it is though. The next book on my list is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. It has It has 4.34 stars on Fable. This is also a young adult fantasy book. This is just one of those books where, again, it's all over TikTok. People are constantly like saying you have to read this, or this is one of those books where people are always like, I wish I would have read this sooner because it's like that good. And it's just kind of always been on my list, and I've been putting it off because, again, I have no idea what it's about. So let's read the description. After her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape, until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus, a flying demon feeding on human energies. A secret society of so-called Legendborn students that hunt the creatures down, and a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage's failure unlocks Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mother died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if it means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. She recruits Nick, a self-exiled Legendborn, with his own grudge against the group, and their reluctant partnership pulls them deeper into the society's secrets, and closer to each other. But when the Legendborn reveal themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and explain that a magical war is coming, Bree has to decide how far she'll go for the truth and whether she should use her magic to take the society down or join the fight. Wow, there is like a lot of elements going on in there. I love a good secret society, and it seems almost kind of like a dark academia book with secret societies, but I'm not gonna lie, the like King Arthur little plot twist at the end there kind of threw me off. This is also part of a series which I've heard people talk really highly about all the books in the series, so I'm gonna keep this one on my list. I also love like when it's not just fantasy, but there's like mythology in it too, and it kind of brings in like some older stories that pretty much everyone knows. So it sounds just really like a really interesting combination. There's like demons, magic, societies, King Arthur. Yeah, we'll definitely keep this on my list, and now that I actually know what it's about, I might check it out as soon as it's available. The next book on my Libby Holds list is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book has 4.23 stars on Fable. This is also just one of those books. I feel like this is one of the OG book talk books. Like when I joined book talk during COVID, this was always being flaunted as a book that you like had to read. It was so good. And I have always wanted to read a V.E. Schwab book. I think I tried to read the Darker Shade of Magic series previously, and at the time, I just honestly wasn't in the mood for a fantasy book. It was nothing against her writing. It was just a complex world that I was being introduced with and did not have the brain space for. V.E. Schwab, from what I've heard, is an incredibly smart author and world builder, and so I have been a little intimidated to read a book by her. Again, put this on hold. I have no idea what it's about. I think from what I remember, I think it was like one of those book aesthetic trailer type of things that you can find on TikTok, like convincing you to read XYZ based on its aesthetic, and the aesthetic seemed really cool, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put it on hold. But again, I have no clue what it's about. So here is the description. A life no one will remember, a story you will never forget. France, 1714. In a moment of desperation, a young woman makes a Faustian bargain to live forever, and is cursed to be forgotten by everyone she meets. Thus begins the extraordinary life of Addie LaRue, and a dazzling adventure that will play out across centuries and continents, across history and art, as a young woman learns how far she will go to leave her mark on the world. But everything changes when, after nearly 300 years, Addie stumbles across a young man in a hidden bookstore, and he remembers her name. Not a lot of information again, but it's very interesting concept, and I think honestly so many people have a very slight fear of oblivion, and like after we're gone, what did we really leave behind on this earth? And it would be interesting to read about someone who has all the time in the world but can't really do anything with it. Yes, I will definitely be keeping this one on my list. This definitely feels more like a fall read to me though, like really good kind of academia vibe. So I would really like to read this one as the weather gets a little colder. The next book on my list is also a V.E. Schwab book. It is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. This book has 4.45 stars on Fable. This is an adult historical fiction. Everyone's talking about it on TikTok, so I had to put it on hold. I just love a good vampire book. And this book's, what I've heard about it, everyone has just said it is one of the best books they have read in a long time. And I think that's that says a lot, especially in the book talk community, because a lot of people are reading so many books. And so when a book stands out like this, I really pay attention. So this is the description. This is a story about hunger. 1532, Santo Domingo de la Calzada. A young girl grows up wild and wily. Her beauty is only outmatched by her dreams of escape. But Maria knows she can only ever be a prize or a pawn in the games played by men. When an alluring stranger offers an alternate path, Maria makes a desperate choice. She vows to have no regrets. This is a story about love. 1827, London. A young woman lives an idyllic but cloistered life on her family's estate until a moment of forbidden intimacy sees her shipped off to London. Charlotte's tender heart and seemingly impossible wishes are swept away by an invitation from a beautiful widow, but the price of freedom is higher than she could have imagined. This is a story about rage. 2019, Boston. College was supposed to be her chance to be someone new. That's why Alice moved halfway across the world, leaving her old life behind. But after an out-of-character one-night stand leaves her questioning her past, her present, and her future, Alice throws herself into the hunt for answers and revenge. This is a story about life, how it ends, and how it starts. This book sounds so good. I love when there's kind of 3 different realities, 3 different points of view, and it's just so interesting to read those books and like see how they all end up kind of connected. So I'm curious if each point of view is set in this specific time, or if this book is told all in like 2019. I'm not sure, but it sounds really interesting. So I will definitely be keeping this one on my list, and I am just so excited to read it because I've just heard everybody says it's so amazing. Yeah, I'm excited about that one. The next book on my list is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This book has 4.64 stars on Fable. I read The Hunger Games when they were coming out in like middle school, high school, and I just was absolutely obsessed with the series, absolutely obsessed with the movies. Those movies are honestly some of the best page to film movies that I have ever seen in my life. The way they really carried the message that Suzanne Collins was trying to put forward, along with the imagery, like they just really brought those books to life, and I just absolutely love the books, absolutely love the movies. I did try to read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes when it came out. I think I got about 80% of the way through the book, and she did such a good job of writing Snow in such a horrible way where you just really, as the book went on, you really just grew to hate him as a character, which I think was the point, because in The Hunger Games, he's not a lovable character. He is the villain, and so to see his kind of origin story, and in my opinion as a reader, I really didn't have much pity for him as the story went on, and so I had to DNF it because he was making me so angry reading it. I had to look up the ending online because I just couldn't do it. And then Justin and I actually just a couple weeks ago finally watched that movie for the first time. I thought they did a great job with the movie. I think the movie was definitely more digestible than the book because you couldn't hear Snow's inner thoughts. That's what was making me so angry. He was just such a horrible person. You could hear every single thought in his head, and he was just horrible. So I actually am really, really excited for this book because I've heard it is Haymitch's Reaping, and so we're back to characters that we actually like versus presents now. So let's read the description. When you've been set up to lose everything you love, what is there left to fight for? As the day dawns on the 50th annual Hunger Games, fear grips the districts of Pan Am. This year, in honor of the Quarter Quell, twice as many tributes will be taken from their homes. Back in District 12, Haymitch Abernathy is trying not to think too hard about his chances. All he cares about is making it through the day and being with the girl he loves. When Haymitch's name is called, he can feel all his dreams break. He's torn from his family and his love, shuttled to the capital with 3 other District 12 tributes, a young friend who's nearly a sister to him, a compulsive odds maker, and the most stuck-up girl in town. As the games begin, Haymitch understands he's been set up to fail, but there's something in him that wants to fight, and have that fight reverberate far beyond the deadly arena. Sounds so good. I'm really excited to read it. I'm prepared for it to kind of destroy me mentally. I think Suzanne Collins is an incredible author. I read her Gregor the Overlander series when I was a kid, and I actually loved that series even more than The Hunger Games, and I'm sad it never got as popular as The Hunger Games did, because it truly was an incredible piece of fantasy. The world building that she did in that book, the characters were so dynamic, and I still remember the ending of the 5th book, and it still just tears my heart out every time I think about it. And I still love The Hunger Games. I love Suzanne Collins' writing, so I am really excited to read another book of hers. The next book on my Libby Holds list is Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. This book has 4.06 stars on Fable. I'm pretty sure I heard about this book on TikTok, maybe. But again, I don't know anything about it. So let's read the description. Stephen's god died on the longest day of the year. 3 years later, Stephen is a broken paladin, living only for the chance to be useful before he dies. But all that changes when he encounters a fugitive named Grace in an alley and witnesses an assassination attempt gone wrong. Now the pair must navigate a web of treachery, beset on all sides by spies and poisoners, while a cryptic killer stalks one step behind. Not a ton of information again, but it sounds good. It sounds like a good fantasy book, and I do love when there's kind of like a stalker and you're like trying to figure out who it is, so it seems like there's kind of a mystery element to it too. The front of the book says, when a god dies, who gets left behind, which I think is an interesting concept to think about. So I am going to keep this one on my list, but this one definitely seems more like a fall read to me. I don't think it'll be available to me for a couple months, so when it does, it'll kind of be the perfect time of year to read this type of book. The next book on my Libby Holds list, I have 2 more books, is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This book has 4.10 stars on Fable. This also is one of those books where I just constantly hear about it on TikTok. And again, I know nothing about it, but people have said it's an incredible series. This is the description. Jade is the lifeblood of the island of Kakon. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. It has been mined, traded, stolen, and killed for, and for centuries, honorable green bone warriors like the Call family have used it to enhance their magical abilities and defend the island from foreign invasion. Now, the war is over and a new generation of Calls vies for control of Kakon's bustling capital city. They care about nothing but protecting their own, cornering the jade market, and defending the districts under their protection. Ancient tradition has little place in this rapidly changing nation. When a powerful new drug emerges that lets anyone, even foreigners, wield jade, the simmering tension between the Calls and the rival Ayat family erupts into open violence. The outcome of this clan war will determine the fate of all green bones and of Kakon itself. Okay, that sounds really cool. It sounds almost more like it's kind of like a gang family rival type of thing. It sounds really interesting. So I will be keeping this one on my list, and I'm interested to learn more about this like world and the magical system that's in it. I believe this is also a series, so it would be, again, nice to get into a series so I don't have to panic every time I read a book and try and figure out what to read next. This is officially the last book on my Libby Holds list. We are almost done getting through my entire list. This is The Blonde Identity by Allie Carter. This book has 3.78 stars on Fable. I heard about this book from Heather McClary. She recommended it as like a silly, kind of fun summer read. And I have read Allie Carter books in the past. In the past, she's written YA books. There was a series called The Gallagher Girls, and it was like about a school of spies, young girl spies. And then there was also a book series that I read by her, another YA series called The Heist Society. It was kind of about like a family of thieves, like high-end thieves. And then this book, I believe, is an adult book. So it's a little different than her like YA books, but I did love reading all of those book series when I was a kid. I literally probably read those a billion times. I loved those books so much. So I am excited to read another Allie Carter book. Here's the description. It's the middle of the night in the middle of Paris, and a woman just woke up with no memory. She only knows 3 things for certain. 1. She has a splitting headache. 2. The hottest guy she's probably ever seen is standing over her telling her to run. And oh yeah, 3. People keep trying to kill her. She doesn't know who or why, but when she sees footage of herself fighting off a dozen men, there's only one explanation. Obviously, she's a spy. Except, according to Mr. Hot Guy, she's not. She's a spy's identical twin sister. Too bad the only person who knows she's not the woman they're looking for is this very grouchy, very sexy, very secret agent who reluctantly agrees to help her disappear, which is easier said than done when a criminal organization wants you dead and every intelligence service in the world wants you caught. Luckily, no one is looking for a pair of lovesick newlyweds on their honeymoon, and soon they're lying their way across Europe, dodging bullets and faking kisses as they race to unravel a deadly conspiracy and clear her sister's name. But with every secret they uncover, the truth shifts until she no longer knows who to trust. The twin she can't remember, or the mysterious man she can't let herself forget. That sounds so fun. It sounds so silly. And just like, again, I can already tell rereading this description, Allie Carter has so much personality to her writing, and this sounds exactly like something that she would have written. And so I'm just really excited to read another book by her. This one, again, won't be available to me for a couple months, but when it does become available, I am really, really excited to read it because Allie Carter is just like a really fun author, and she, again, puts just so much personality into her writing. Okay, if you have stuck with me this long, thank you so much for listening to me yap away about all these different books that I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's just really helped me get excited for my Libby Holds list again. Just love to read, and so I'm looking forward to a lot of these books on my list. If there are any books that you would recommend based off my list, please let me know. Otherwise, I so appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Thank you.